to the other side, and they worked another 10 years and had Camp 9 in there. They had 200 men in this camp. And so I'm going to show you, I'm going to start out, we're going to go to Maine, and we're going to show Lynn when he was in Maine. Crossways in there. There. Now this is up in Maine, Lynn's Traveling Dog Show. He had, this was about 1908, 1909. He had dog and pony show. He had a single track machine in front there. On the right is single track. This is Lynn with his ponies. That's in Old Town, Maine. About 1903 it was. This was his first conveyance he had for pulling his dog show. That's his brother, that's Lynn right there. He had a single cylinder engine in there that drives this machine. And that's what he pulled his dog show with. This was up in Maine. Got one of the dogs right there. Now this is a high dive. The dog, or the guy jumped, the guy's coming down right there, the man is. He drove, I think he had a wash tub on the bottom to dive into. But this was up in Maine, probably about 1903, 1904. I don't think I'd wanted to jump that high into the wash tub, but this was a single track machine. He made this in Lombard's factory. It had a single track in back and a that's in a big snowstorm.
Yes.
I've been in a few of them. We couldn't see anything. Okay, there's two steam Lombards. This is up in Maine. They were 20-ton machine. They weighed 20 tons. Had a locomotive boiler on them, same as a locomotive. And he had the tracks on the back. And this guy over here, he's got a canopy over him. There's another one. That's Lynn right there. This is before he made his own machine. He was working for Lombard. There's 5 of these machines left that I know of. My friend in Maine's got one he's putting together, and 2 other guys in Maine. This is down in the Morris Fairgrounds. This machine here went to Glue Paper Company. They took the front end off and they put skis under it. They sold this machine to Glue Paper. This is probably about 1922. This was down on the fairgrounds in Morris. They had the weight on it to show how much weight it would move. The 4 cylinders could pull about 60 ton, and the 6 cylinders they had one time they pulled 130 ton. This is a very early tractor. This is up in the Adirondacks, about one of the first ones, about 1918. Got the lantern hanging on the side there. No headlights on it. That's a gas Lombard up in Maine. He's hauling a big load of pulp. He probably had about 160 ton on there, on that road. This had a massive engine in it. Wisconsin. It was about 150 horsepower, but it had tremendous power. This is up on Gould's on the log dump. They're dumping these logs down on the river. This Lynn had a water box on the back. They sprinkled the roads with it. At nighttime, they'd sprinkle the roads, ice the roads, so the sleighs would run better. This is up in the Adirondacks. This was near Racket Lake. Early Lynn, very early, probably 1918. Seat cab on it. There's the unloading. This is Racket Lake Supply up to Racket Lake. They had a big sawmill up there. They're dumping logs off the tractor onto the rollway. That's a very early Lynn here, probably about 1918. This is up in Woods Lake in the Adirondacks. He must have been in the First World War. He's got a campaign hat on there. No hydraulic loaders back then. All by hand. This is up near Conifer. That's a later model Lynn. That's a 6-cylinder, 100 horse Lynn. They'd pull 160 ton of logs on a nice road. Tremendous power they had. These guys are taking a lunch back in the woods to the loggers. They got pails, and this guy's got the cups and stuff on his back on the left, and they're going back, taking lunch back into the loggers in the woods. There's a Lynn. This one's up in Canada, Holland spruce. He's probably got 10 or 12 sleighs behind them there. Usually about 10 tons of the sleigh of logs. That's an ad that was in a magazine up there. They moved a whole village up in Lynn Lake in Canada. They had 4 Lynns. They went 180 miles right through the wilderness. No roads, no nothing. With the Lynn tractors, they moved 200 or 300 ton back to this mining camp in Canada. And they went across frozen lakes, hauled all the machinery in, and some of these Lynns, they left them back in there where this mining camps were. And I got a friend up in Canada, he rescued 2 or 3 of them Lynns out of there. He got them running. This is up in Forestport, back in the woods. This was Crowfoot Brothers. This was a later model, 6-cylinder, 100 horsepower. This was mounted on a Lynn C5. It had wheels on the back and it had tracks. You could let the wheels down, raise the tracks, and drive it on the road. They only made about 15 of those, and they didn't work out good because they put a load on the tractor and the frame would break. It'd break the frame off. There they are moving that up in Canada, moving the whole thing 160, 70 miles right back in the wilderness. Lynn tractors drew everything in there. They had to take their own gas and everything with them. There's a very early champion snowplow with the wings on it. Your control was on the back right here to raise your plow, and they had another control back here to raise the up back part of the wings. I've done that when I was about 14 years old. This is done Morris. This is a real early tractor. Plowing. He had both wings down. You didn't have to back up with this tractor. It went right straight ahead. We had one, we used one for years. You could go through 7-8 foot of snow. Never back up, just keep right on going. It used some gas. It used gas. But back then, gas was, see they had wheels on the back you operated the wings with, and you wanted to dress warm. Because you had air conditioning. There's plowing a little snow there. This is up in Oxford, Maine. You've got about 8 foot of snow in there. They were a very powerful machine. You just couldn't, the only thing that would stop them if you got one track off the road in the mud or something, you were done. This is an early champion plow. Later on, Lynn went in with Frink. And they made, he put Frink plows on these. And Sargents, they had Sargent plows too. Sargents were made in Maine. There was a little snow right there. About 8 or 10 feet of snow right there. They had unbelievable power. If you had weight in the back of them, you could go anywhere. That one's got probably about 10 ton of coal on for ballast. You had to keep busy back there. If you got into a lot of it, you just put them wings up both out. And then you had the front wheels operated the plow. Now that one, there's so much snow in this picture, I had to turn it sideways so the snow would fall out. There they're in a little snow. The guy sitting up on top, sometimes the snow got so deep, he had to tell the driver where the road was.
Wow, that's power.
You could also steer this tractor with the wings. You could steer it. There he's cleaning up, this is down there Morris. He's cleaning up the road, making another trip through. You don't have that kind of snow today. These two here went to Maine. They went to Great Northern Paper Company. They took the wheels off the front, put the skis on. Both these tractors went to Great Northern Paper Company in Maine. Of course, they were kind of favored Lombard machines because Lombard was from Maine, but they did buy a few Lynn's. Now this is a very early one down the fairgrounds in Morris. Very, very early, probably about a 1917. You're pulling a grader. Got a little ballast on the back. Now this machine is still in existence. I've got this trailer home, but I haven't got the tractor. This had a Cummins diesel in it, 1926. It had a winch, had a sleeper cab in it, and had a winch behind the cab, and it winched the tractors up on the trailer. This is very early. This is Lynn down in Morris. They were trying this fifth wheel out. It didn't work out. It was had one set of runners, and the fifth wheel rusted up on the box. It would bunk up, and they didn't discontinued making it. It didn't work out good for them. There they're hauling chemical wood. That's down to Morris. That went to the chemical wood factory. This guy must have had to come out through the windshield because he got the door boarded up with plywood. This is another transporter. This is a transporter again. They had another arm on the back. They put it under the back end. They lifted the tractor up, got the wheels on the ground, and they could deliver them that way with this. And had a Cummins diesel in it. That tractor is still in existence, but the guy won't sell it. They made a few with shovels on them. This is probably 30s, in the mid-30s. This was taken just lately. You had a cupola up on top. You could look in any direction you wanted to. You had airplanes, you had 4 or 5 airplanes, you had Lincolns, Cadillac cars. When you got 1937, the 3rd of July, he was going to Syracuse to buy a new car, a new Lincoln. And they took off from Morris with the plane. This is down to Utica Gas and Electric moving a transformer. He took off from Morris in the plane. There was M, the pilot, is one of the guys in the company, and his wife with him. The pilot swung around and hit the treetop, broke the wing off the plane. The plane crashed, and the other guy jumped out. There he is. That's Lynn, that's his wife. Stinson, I think that was a Stinson plane. He had 3 or 4 airplanes. He burned up in the plane. There's when the plant burned, 1983. I think it was in December. That's him. That's in his later years. He was quite a showman. There's some more dogs. He got down to Morris with his dog show about 1913, 14, and he stayed over in the winter over in Morris, and they had a polio epidemic, and he got quarantined. They wouldn't let him move. This is up in the Adirondacks. This is on Gould's school paper. That was a very early Lynn. Seat cab on it. He had about probably 35, 40 ton of logs down there. That's that show. That's a 5th wheel on this one. Early tractor. The 5th wheel didn't work out on it. They kicked up and they'd lose the load. There's a guy with a water wagon. He's sprinkling the road. Each side the water's coming out. They fill that water wagon. He got horses on this one. And they ice the ruts. By the time spring comes, those ruts would be about 2 foot deep with ice. There's one of the plows they had, a rudder plow. They pulled this as horses. They had adjustable wings on it. They could make the road wider or narrower or whatever they wanted to. All made out of, most of it was made out of wood, the frame was. There's the camp. Camp 7. There's some of the sleighs down where the horse was. This was a big camp. They probably had 200 men in this camp. They worked in this place for 10 years. There's the roller. They rolled and there's the water tank on the left. The road roller. They roll the snow and pack it down. That big roller had about 10 foot in diameter. There's the plows. There's the tractor shed. They kept the tractors in there at night. They put them inside. They had heat in there. They'd heat the whole garage. They had 10 or 12 tractors they used in this job. There's some of the sleighs. That's the way they left these sleighs back in the woods, right in rows. They left them right there. Those sleighs are still laying there. Just untook them. Each tractor had 3 sets of 10. They had 30 sleighs for each tractor. They'd bring one in loaded. They'd drop them off at the blacksmith shop. He'd check them. There's the blacksmith shop. He'd check the sleighs if they needed repair, and he'd repair them. And they had the other set ready to hook on to go. So they had 3 sets altogether for each tractor. There's a tractor, both tractor sheds. They could drive, they had big doors on them. They could drive the tractors right in. This is up to North Lake. They went into this camp in 1920, and they finished up in there in 1930, and they moved on the other side of the river. It's inside the cookhouse where they fed the men. 5 meals a day. 4 o'clock in the morning was breakfast. About 10 o'clock was lunch back in the woods they carried to them. And about 2 o'clock they had another lunch, and then they come back about 6 and eat supper. This was an early tractor. This was a patent bunks they had on this tractor. Lynn made these bunks. They were like a trip bunk, but they didn't work out good, so they didn't use them much. That's coming back into Forestport with this one. He's hauling oats for the horses, and he's got food supplies in there too. He'd go out every other day to Forestport, get a load and bring back into the camp on a tote road. It's 25 miles one way. There they're going back empty with the empty sleighs on their go-back road. This is back in the woods. They could have never got this timber out with horses. They were killing horses in there. And so they started using limb tractors in 1920 in there. This was a camp that was down on the side of the main camp. The tractor drivers went in there to warm up, and they had coffee and stuff in there. They'd get something to eat in there. They usually make about 3 trips a day to the Moose River, and then they dump the logs in the Moose River. There's a water wagon. They had a big pump in this building here, and then they pumped the water into this tank, and then this tractor would pull a water tank over the road, and they'd pull 2 spigots on each side of the sleigh irons there, and it would ice the middle of the track. This was a gas Lombard they had up there. They used. This was a big machine. They could haul more wood with this. This one probably could haul 160 tons of logs. They used about 50 to 60 gallons of gas a day in these tractors. There's the Lombard. That's a water tank where they filled They had a big tank in there where they filled the water wagons on the right. This is probably about 1922, 23. That was pretty frosty that morning, probably about 35 below zero, imagine. Camp had started to fall in. This is probably 1930. The roof had started to fall in on a men's camp. They were just about ready to close up in there, move on the other side of the river. There they're taking a load up over the mountain. Some of this they had to unhook these sleighs. They couldn't pull the whole thing over the mountain, so they unhooked some and they'd take some over and then come back and get the other ones. They probably had about 12 or 14 sleighs on this one. Had about 140 ton they were pulling. There's a guy, he's got a smile on his face. They just dumped a whole load of logs off, and he's smiling about it. There they're hauling feed for the horses on the tote road. Louse Hill, that's going in from Forestport. I don't know why they call it Louse Hill, but I think when the loggers come out in the spring, they were pretty lousy, so they used to dump their clothes and burn them before they got into town. Most of them were pretty lousy. This is Camp 9. This is the one they had on the other side of the Moose River. Them are all sleighs, empties laying in there, blacksmith shops in the middle. Up on the hill way back is the office. That's still standing, it was. Here's a tractor barn here. They had 10 stalls for the tractors in there. Here's how it looks today. That was in, about 10 years ago I was in there. Adirondack League Club owns all this now. So I had to know somebody to get in there. It's pretty tough to get in there.
I can get you in there. I can get you in there.
Yeah, you been in there?
Oh, yeah,
There's an office up on the hill. That's root cellar. Down where they kept a lot of foods that's in there. The root cellar.
My nephew is the boss up there. My nephew is the
wheelchair.
Yeah. There's the office as it looks today. It did look. Somebody burned it down about 10 years ago. They burnt 4 or 5 buildings in there.
Probably the DEC.
There's inside, that's a World War I army stove. That's Camp 9. There's a snowmobile, Model A Ford with tracks on it. This was the men's camp where the men stayed in there. Cookhouse. On the end was a cookhouse. This was a big camp. They probably had 100 to 150 men in this camp. It shows another one with all the sleighs just as they unhooked them. You got the mountain back here pretty well whipped. It looks pretty barren. They had a few deer there. They kind of fattened them up in the summer, and come fall, I think they went in the frying pan.
Oops on the ground there for him. Oops on the ground there for him.
There was their fuel tanks. One was kerosene and one was gas. And they probably went out about 3 times a week to Forestport to fill those tanks up. They used, every tractor, each tractor used about 50 gallon. They had 10 tractors. So 500 gallon. There they're coming, there's a tractor in the middle. He's going on to the Moose River to dump his load. And the next set of sleighs in front, the blacksmith is looking them over to check them, make sure they're all right. And he'll hook onto them probably when he drop the empties off, and he'll hook on them other ones. This is in January in the Moose River. It thawed. They had a big thaw, and the logs started moving down the river. This was 1929. It kind of disrupted their schedule. There's the logs in the Moose River. They had these crossings. The tractors would go across. They'd fill this whole thing up to the next road, and they'd fill the next, beyond that. They'd go across, empty them, and turn around and come back empty. But they were all the way, the whole river was full of logs. There's the way it looks now, the same spot. That's about 6 foot deep in there, in the Moose River. They go across, turn around on the other side, and come back across. The day I was there on the right-hand side, the bears had been digging in there for grubs. They had it all dug up in there, where the bears had been. There's another shot, logs in the river. Thousands of feet of logs in the river.
And they're all cut with a cross cut. All cut with a cross cut.
Yeah. There's another same shot. Those logs are probably 18 to 20 foot high, deep, laying in the river. Now they're coming down onto the river with a load. Most of them tractors averaged about 8 to 10 sleighs to the load. One time they had 18 sleighs, they had 180 ton. They're filling a water box in the big tank with water. A guy fell in that water box when they were icing the road. It was about 20 below zero. He got out. That's Gould, a brand new Model A snowmobile, 1929. The guy says, "What should I do?" The driver says, "Run like hell for camp, or you freeze to death." They're getting ready to move camp. This was 1929, 1930. They moved on the other side of the river. There they had everything on the back of the Lynn, the whole camp. They put the whole camp on the back of the Lynn tractor, and he had a snowmobile there, and they moved across the river and put another camp up. This was a 6-cylinder Lynn, this one here. There they were, down in front here. That was testing see how thick the ice was. And they were filling the Moose River full of logs. They dumped them logs, let them roll right down in, and piled them right in the middle of the river. When that started moving in the spring, you better know what you were doing. There they're going back to the empties. They turned the bumps sideways on them. The go-back road was terrible rough. The main haul was in good shape, but the go-back was terrible rough roads. they needed about 4 foot of snow in there to cover the boulders up. They're loading some big stuff on us, and probably that sleigh had 10-foot bucks on it. I like the hydraulic loader they got on it. That was hardwood there, that looked like hardwood. There they're loading off the coal deck, loading the sleighs. They'd have teams of horses on the single sleighs, and they'd take these single ones out to the main hall, and they'd hook on, make the train up for the tractor to pull. There's 8 or 10 sleighs. There's a sand hill man. Kept hot sand in there. When they come to a hill, you had to sand the track to keep the sleighs, and it would slow the sleighs down going down the hill. And they had a fire going inside that shanty, and that sand had to be hot, so it wouldn't, you throw it on the runners, and he could tell when you hear it coming. There's another one of the water wagon. He could tell about how many sleighs they had and how much sand he had to throw on that road. Otherwise, the sleighs would bunk up, and the tractors would slip on the hills too. There they're going. We got a train made up. The guy's coming back. The number 1, that's a 4-cylinder. He's going back empty. The 6-cylinder here on the right, he's going to hook on that train up ahead. They got the train all hooked up for him. He's going up ahead and hook on to go up to the Moose River with it. They're making a train up there with the teams, the horses. They had about 10 tons of the sleigh. Now this was all peeled wood. They peeled it first. They peeled the bark off, and then they stopped peeling back in the 40s. They didn't peel it anymore because they had a rosser in the factory. They'd ross the bark off. They had 12 limbs that thing. Those are both 6-cylinders, I think. That little short guy in the middle there, he was from Leigh Center. He used to drive for him. They're back in, but they had that pretty well cleaned in there. They were back in quite a ways. They cut about 60,000 acres on the first cut they had in the 1920s on the other side of the Moose River. They didn't leave much in there. 1931, that is. She must have been the cook there with them.
My grandmother used to cook in some of them cans.
Huh?
My grandmother used to cook in some of them cans.
Oh yeah, they did.
Stuck a bird one, then
There we go. The cook was the most important part of the camp. They had a bad cook, everybody left.
stuck a bird one, they got to the butcher, they
Yeah.
went to go to the feed field and dump the backyard and stood there and up there at the door and she just stuck him across the door. They had to get that one.
Number 3 again. That's got patent stakes on it, on the sleighs. They didn't work out good. Most of them had spring pole binders on them. Some of them had the dogs on them. Had to knock them out with a peavey. It had to be fast to get out of the road.
Well, even the truck side down like
This one here had an extra gas can hanging on the side.
They dumped it over the place right there, line of wall, they would go to the place. And they up into the, had to knock them dogs up. Took them up.
That's going through the camp. That was Camp 9. Down in the front there's, that's empties. They're checking them out. Blacksmith is. The other one's going on to the Moose River. go onto the river. They put a bridge across and then they dump both sides to fill in between them. Fill the river right up. Most of the time they're probably 10, 12 feet high, deep in there, the logs. There's 1926, Model T snowmobile there. Old Gould kept track of the job there in the snowmobiles. Yeah. There's the Model T. Coming across, ready to dump it. They fill in between each one of those roads across, they fill it right full of logs. They're probably 10, 12 foot deep right there in there then. Most tractors averaged about 7 to 8 sleighs, 80 ton they were hauling. Looks like there they didn't quite get to the river with that road. Way up, they got logs way up in there on the river. There's a load coming up there in the middle, there's another load here on the bottom. There's Joe Gordon with his Chevy snowmobile. You take the loggers out on the weekend to Forestport. Charge them $1.50, I guess, for a trip out and back. There's a Coke. Looks like we got a couple of big pots of beans. A lot of beans. I imagine they had a little venison in with that too, probably. There they are consuming it. They fed them good. All you want to eat. Some of them guys that eat 12, 14 pancakes, 2 dozen legs. But they work. $1 a day. $1 a day was. Tractor drivers got $3 a day. There they are starting a log drive down to Lions Falls. The Moose River broke up in the spring and they started driving the logs.
My grandmother used to make 14 loaves of bread, homemade bread. The loaves would be that long and that high. Cut it 25 foot bread and run around it. That was a meal.
Yeah.
Plate of bread.
There's a boat. There's 3 men to the boat. One guy had to hold the oars to keep the boat steady, and the other guy held it, and the other guy had to pry the logs loose because they jammed up. They called them a jam boat. They had feeder streams that they shut them down at nighttime so that they wouldn't drive at night. It's bad enough driving in the daytime. So they shut the dams down on these feeder streams at night. And in the morning, they'd raise the gate and make the water higher in the Moose River and start to drive again the next morning.
That last drive was what, 1948?
Yeah. A lot of the logs would hang up on the side of the river, and they'd have to go along and pry those logs all loose and get them moving down the river. The last log drive was 47, I think. They lost one man went under, and they found him about a month later downstream.
Yeah. They took a lot of them out of Blue Jay Swamp down there.
Yeah. Yeah, this is getting pretty much done, so. The mosquitoes are feeding good anyway. There the guy's holding, the other guy's freeing the jam loose. There they are riding the logs in the cork boots. Yeah, most of them guys are Canadian. Just down Lyons Falls, where the pulp was going in the mill. That's all gone now. Before the mill's all gone.
I started him taking the rest of it down this morning.
Yeah. There's a view of Lyons Falls of three-way bridges on there.
Yep.
Three ways. Moose River and the Black River. You can see the logs backed up in the river on top. The logs are backed up on the Moose. And there the Black's coming in on the middle there. The two rivers joining. There's a three-way bridge. Guy's got a load of logs on a truck and dumping in there.
We dumped their 13-foot spurts went in there.
You probably haul logs up to it, didn't you?
Not there. I hauled in when they had the scale track, when it was all
Yeah.
dumped. But everything that was in the river went back over on that conveyor.
There's some rough water there. That's coming down toward Lyons Falls. It's pretty wild water. There's the falls. Get pretty wild in the spring there, Ken.
Well, there's still a lot of water coming over that fall. Today.
Almost give a truck a headache there.
Well, I guess so.
That's the top of the falls.
Platforms, they move them every year. They put them up new every year.
Yeah. That's the guy that run Snow Ridge. He was controller in the control room there in the pulp mill. He's the one that had all these pictures of up in the woods. That's inside the pulp mill.
You remember the exalted mill down here, the Hawkinsville? Remember the exalted mill? Right there at Hawkinsville, by the bridge?
Yeah.
I hauled wood in there too. White pine.
That's I think that's where they brought the logs up into the mill.
Yeah.
Then they started using 4-foot pulp in the 40s here.
Yeah.
Late 40s they were using 4-foot.
And the spruce come in and that went to
Yeah.
22 inch.
That's the store.
Yeah.
That's Gould store, I think. That was a real early Cadillac car.
Yeah.
That's real early. There's up Gould Town, I think.
Yeah.
There's another shot of the plant and the falls. Just about over with.
Mosquito.
There's the falls. That gets pretty wild up there in the spring.
Oh, boy. I remember the bottom, then the spring ice was so high, it put some big oak trees right over.
Yeah.
Pile up down in there. By the fences, I could.
There's the beater room where they stir the pulp up.
The dad worked there. Chinese room. 8 on, 8 off. He grew it up. So we were able to get this money.
There's the press, one of the presses. I think they had three paper machines in there. They sold them, I think they went to China.
Yeah.
Chinese bought them.
Back in the water mine deal over there, my dad was a backcountry on that. They drafted him 17 times and over.
Yeah.
Motor got the furs and wouldn't let him have them.
That's a 3-way bridge. That's all gone now. There's a big pile of pulp over in there.
Hey, Chris, what's going on? Hey.
Working bears coming back.
Yeah. There's some wild water.
Brings back a lot of memories.
What?
Brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah. That's where the gate was for the logs put in that building there. I think too, that when they fed them out of the river. That was the gate control, to control the gates.
Well, that'll be, Will Bryan Road and
That's a trimmer. That cut them to length.
That's all Dr. Rubber was right up there over Joe Quadrant.
Yeah.
14 years old.
That's the wood room. They went under there and then the saws cut it off to length.
Back off the conveyor or something.
I think it's just about right. Another shot of that above part. That's where the elevator brought the logs in, the pulp into the wood room.
And a hole in the bottom of that, no, the floor, good bullet, and on the bottom of that was a tail.
This one here is a water wagon, later one. They got a stove inside to keep the water from freezing, right in the center. They got a stovepipe coming out. They kept the water from freezing. They had an international cat hooked onto this one. This was later, this was in the 40s probably. That's it.
Thanks a lot, Leigh. Appreciate it.